You want the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
You can't handle the truth!
Well, I'm giving you the Detroit sports truth with your chief host, Taylor the Gator Phillips. Also with co-host Carlos Martinez. We lay down the entire truth about all things Detroit sports up to 3 hours long. If you want to know the Detroit sports truth and chime in on it, the number to call or text message live on the DST podcast on Spreaker is 231-429-3668. Add us on Facebook as Taylor Phillips and Carlos Martinez. Like my Facebook page, Taylor Phillips' Detroit Sports page. Join my Facebook group, Taylor Phillips' Detroit Sports Group. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr at DT2Phillips. And connect with me on LinkedIn, Pinterest, and Google Plus as Taylor Phillips. This podcast is also available on iHeartRadio.
And welcome to episode 162 of the Detroit Sports Truth. I'm Taylor Phillips. Mike Payton will join me here in a second. Tigers and Royals getting the 3-game series finale already underway. Royals took the first two. We're going to talk Lions first. And we're going to talk Lions right now with this segment.
It's time for 5 questions with Taylor the Gator Phillips.
Hey, Mike. Joining me on tonight's 5 questions segment is Lions staff writer and reporter Mike Payton. Thanks for being a part of the show. How are you doing tonight?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Good. I'm doing well, too. All right, question number 1. What is the biggest surprise you see out of training camp with the Lions?
Thus far, I would have to say the biggest surprise would be Amir Abdullah coming in out of the second round. Kind of wasn't the guy that everybody was thinking that the Lions should take, but he has really showed that he can be something special out of the backfield recently. Definitely going to be kind of a pass-catching running back, kind of in the same vein as Theo Riddick, but a lot faster. He's dangerous in space, just like Reggie Bush, but he doesn't dance around, and he's definitely surprised me.
Okay, speaking of Amir Abdullah, he was impressing the heck out of everyone at training camp this year. Why did Jim Caldwell and the coaching staff decide to put him at number 2 in the running back spots with Jock Bell on the physically unable to perform list?
I'm thinking, that the depth chart that they recently printed is kind of a guess, if you will. It's more of a preseason type of thing. I think they're going to run him with the 2s and throw in Riddick with the 1s just to start the season. It's going to give Abdullah, or the preseason rather, it's going to give Abdullah more time to get accustomed to the NFL game.
Well, question number 3. My co-host gave us an update on episode 161 that during minicamp, Eric Ebron, our tight end, was catching more passes more effectively. Based on what you saw out of him at training camp, how do you think he'll do this season?
Well, I think that he is going to be much improved. I don't think that he's going to be putting up Pro Bowl numbers just yet. I think you'll see him do somewhere between 400 and 600 yards and 5 or 6 touchdowns, and I think that would be just fine for the Lions, and that's kind of what they're looking for out of him. He's still going to take some time to kind of get to where the Lions are hoping he's going to be, but from what I've seen in camp, he's looking a lot more fit than he was last year. He's catching pretty much everything thrown his way, and not making really any mental mistakes at all. He's definitely taking things a lot more serious now, and really showing himself to be a professional.
Question number 4. We haven't heard anything positive or negative about defensive end Ezekiel Ansah. Do you have any news about him as of late?
What I noticed in camp yesterday was that he was really taking on kind of getting double teamed a lot. He was having some trouble getting around that, but I think that with his intangibles, with his smarts and the football acumen that he's developing, he'll find a way to beat that. Also, I have high hopes for him. I think that he's going to be Pro Bowl caliber and this year.
And how do you think he'll do this season? Any statistics that you predict?
As far as statistics, I would say he's probably going to be like a 10-sack guy, probably 30 to 40 tackles. Not J.J. Watt production, but he's definitely going to be their main pass rusher this season, that's for sure.
Finally, question number 5. The Lions kick off their preseason this Thursday at Ford Field at 7:30. That's tomorrow. They're taking on the New York Jets, who lost their number 1 quarterback, Geno Smith, for 6 to 10 weeks to a broken jaw from getting punched by one of his teammates. Ouch. How will this affect the evaluation of the Lions' defense?
Well, I don't think that they're going to be changing their game plan at all. Ryan Fitzgerald's going to be coming in. He's kind of a pocket quarterback. I think that they are just going to be attacking the same way that they would if Geno Smith was in the lineup. I think you'll see a lot of pass rushing going on. You're going to be kind of testing out how the run stopping is going to go, and you're going to see a lot of Karan Reed and Larry Webster, Devin Taylor. You're going to see a lot more of these guys than you're used to seeing.
All right, Mike. Well, those are all the questions I have to ask you. For all the listeners out there, you can follow Mike Payton on Twitter at SLR_Mike and follow at Sideline Report. Mike, thanks again for being a part of the show, and we'll see how the Lions season goes in 2015.
Thank you, Taylor.
And that was Mike Payton of Fansided in Detroit Jock City and the Sideline Report. Carlos Martinez will join me momentarily. So Amir Abdullah, I think, should have been given the number 1 spot, or maybe I'm just fantasizing a little bit. Maybe he needs to develop more, but then again, maybe he doesn't, depending on what everybody has seen out of him at training camp. And as long as the offensive line keeps doing their job, helping Stafford and the running backs and this and that, I think the offense as a whole, especially with Amir Abdullah and even with Joik Bell on the PUP, as of right now, will do a much better job than they did last season. So if anybody has any opinions on how the Lions will do this season, call or text message right now at 231-429-3668. Episode 162 is live right here on the Detroit Sports Truth with yours truly, Taylor Phillips. Trying to give my co-host the cue to call here. Bear with me. You're welcome, Michael Payton. I do want to take this time to read a message that a fan named Wookie Slayer messaged to our Facebook page, The Detroit Sports Truth. He said, "It's an honor to be invited here by one of the best sports writers to ever hail from Detroit. Carlos Martinez just called. Hey, Carlos.
Hey, what's happening, man?
Oh, well.
Can you hear?
Yep. Well, my 5-question segment went very good. Went very well.
Awesome.
Yep. So, I want to get your feedback on how Amir Abdullah and the Lions offense will help, how they will help this team do in 2015.
Well, I think it's a little early to be making any kind of proclamation, so to speak. But I think as a whole, Amir Abdullah was drafted in the second round to be what Reggie Bush was in 2013. Word that's coming out of camp right now, I think you're hearing more and more that he has been a bigger surprise or a bigger value than what was expected. Because if we remember how it went down in the draft, I think that the 2015 draft is going to be known as the year of the running back. Okay? Now, there was Todd Gurley, who obviously went first. And a lot of Lions fans were hoping that the Detroit Lions would draft Todd Gurley. Now, for me, it wasn't necessarily a good idea. I didn't feel that there was true value there. And the reason being based on the knee issue. Now, Detroit's been burned on that situation a couple of times. We know what happened with Javad Best. We came back into the first round and drafted him, knowing that he had a concussion issue, and it turned around to bite the Detroit Lions in the butt later on. Obviously, he never played again, another snap in the NFL after he had another couple of concussions with the Lions. And then we also drafted a running back out of the second round, and he too popped in an Achilles tendon. Now, that was during training camp, so that's not really the same situation as what Gurley found himself in, but it did affect the production going forward. Now, there was another kid out of Wisconsin, and he ran for 2,000 yards. He was taken by the San Diego Chargers, but the tier where Amir Abdullah fell into was he was going to be compared against Devin Coleman and Duke Johnson. So those were really the top 5 running backs. And unfortunately, and I guess not unfortunately, but I guess most people in the NFL view the running back as a devalued position. What I mean by a devalued position is that you don't really see running backs being taken high in the draft anymore because they think the value comes later on in the draft. In other words, you can get guys that will eventually turn out to be good running backs in the NFL because most of it's done by committee nowadays. You really don't see the Adrian Petersons of the world that often anymore. And those two guys that were taken ahead of that group, and of course Abdullah, because he was taken first in the second tier, they were viewed as being those guys. Now, in my opinion, when I was looking at players that the Detroit Lions should draft, I didn't think that the value was truly there based on the fact, again, that Todd Gurley had an injury and the kid out of Wisconsin had so many carries under his belt. Generally, when a guy has that many carries under his belt, that means that you're not going to get a lot of production out of him in the pros. Now, he may produce for the next 3 or 4 years, but generally when a guy has that many carries under his belt, he's already worn down. And by moving to the next level and playing in the NFL, it makes it a lot more difficult on a person's body to maintain that level of excellence. So you see a quick drop-off generally. And a lot of those guys are like Maurice Jones-Drew, the guy that they have running now in
in Dallas. His name escapes me at the moment. But Amir Abdullah was brought in to be that Reggie Bush style of guy. Now, he has really opened up a lot of eyes. He's caused a lot of buzz. In fact, our man Mike Payton said that we may have found the steal of the draft, because those other two guys that I mentioned, in Jock Bell and Devin Coleman, both of those guys are injured and are not really participating with their teams in training camp. So it's kind of broken the Lions' way finally, and they're starting to see their share of good luck. I guess we'll have a lot better answer after what we see tomorrow. Now, I don't think we're going to see a ton of Amir Abdullah. I don't think the Lions really want to take a chance with having him get injured. I think they have a pretty good idea of what they've got. I think they kind of want to give him a taste a little bit, but I don't think you're going to see a lot of carries for him. But I'm going to be just like everybody else, intrigued to see what he actually produces when live tackling is going on, which is something that doesn't happen in training camp. Guys are told not to be brought down to the ground. You might be in pads, you might get a little bit of a bump, but there isn't really live tackling. So we won't really know what we have until we see a little bit of them tomorrow night. But again, I don't think we're going to see a ton.
We work extra hard so you don't have to.
So that is some more great insight from you, Carlos Martinez, as compared to Mike Payton's analysis on our 5 questions segment. So on the Lions. So why don't we shift gears to the Tigers here. Aaron Huizenga of Fansided headlined Detroit Tigers, is a playoff run still on the radar. The Tigers took 2 out of 3 from Kansas City last week at Comerica Park, the Royals, after losing 2 of the last 3 games in the 4-game set to the Orioles in Baltimore. They ended up splitting that series since that trade deadline. Daniel Norris and Matt Boyd shine in their first starts as Tigers. As I mentioned before in the last podcast, which may show a good sign of things to come in the Tigers' starting pitching rotation. Norris, as a prospect, has had only that 1 start in the majors. He's still got a long ways to go. And Boyd had recorded a 1.65 ERA from AA to AAA this season before making his major league debut with Detroit. As far as the offense goes, Anthony Gose and Rajay Davis are seeing more playing time, with Yoenis Cespedes now playing for the New York Mets. He's gelling, by the way, for the Big Apple. And Ian Kinsler's bat has caught on fire. He hit .366 last month and has hit .394, 15 for 38 thus far this month, going into tonight. .421, 8 for 19 before the Red Sox, 8 for 19 before the Red Sox series at Comerica Park. Victor Martinez is quote, getting closer to being fully healthy, unquote, by Huizenga, assuming he may running, which makes us assume he may run a little faster with slow progress. And of course, as we talked about on our last episode, Dave Dombrowski getting fired and Al Avila promoted to general manager and president. Now, we've been hearing that Sam Menzin has been named the director of baseball operations for the Tigers, which means the Tigers are apparently going to focus more on the mental aspects of the game of baseball. Another thing we've heard is that first baseman Miguel Cabrera could return Friday, that's tomorrow, to play in Houston as the Tigers square off with the Astros. One thing that still needs to be fixed, as usual, is the bullpen. because Dombrowski never fixed it in his 14-year tenure. Maybe almost never. But moving forward, the Tigers are not going to win the American League Central Division Championship for sure. The Royals are still running away with that lead in the standings. I believe they're going to win the AL Central, so that's a no-doubter. They're really running away with it. However, the Tigers are 4 games back of the 2 top wildcard spots. The Baltimore Orioles, the Texas Rangers, the Minnesota Twins, and Tampa Bay Rays are ahead of them. All those 5 teams, including the Tigers, trail the Toronto Blue Jays and Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. The entire fan base is saying the Tigers can still make it to the postseason by coming back and claiming one of the wild card spots. Current CEO and GM Al Avila says this team still wants to win this year, according to an MLive.com source published by Chris Ayotte. The problem I have with it is it can keep their manager Brad Ausmus in their dugout for at least one more year. And touching on Brad Ausmus a little bit, Brad Ausmus says he's not worried about his job security right now because there's nothing I can do about it.
Shut up, you
and
idiot. What? Oh.
And then Al Avila speaks that the Tigers. Yeah, I mentioned that before. So as far as the Tigers trying to make the postseason this year, I don't want that to happen because if you look at the picture here, we know he's brought absolutely nothing to the table and is just clearly not ready to manage. He's got no fundamentals. He's got no mental math. Whatnot. We both want Ausmus gone. So we don't want the Tigers to make the postseason this year. Carlos, I want to give me your thoughts.
The Tigers aren't going to make the postseason this year.
Nope.
No. It's time to come to grips with that. The Tigers are not going to make the playoffs this year. The Tigers keep losing ground. Those 2 prospects had a pretty good start, but they got figured out, and that's where we stand, man. Miguel Cabrera, if you ask me, I think they should err on the side of caution. I understand Cabrera's a gamer, and he wants to be in there, and I wouldn't expect Al Avila to say anything other than, yes, we're going to win this year. I mean, what else can he say?
Yeah, that's kind of sounding more robotic. We're going to win. 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 And this and that.
Shut up, you idiot.
I mean, how long is that broken record going to keep on going until they realize that they can't win anymore with Brad Ausmus?
You know, they're starting to. Lynn Henning has come out and he said that he's thinking about making a move. You know, that the Tigers are maybe talking about making a move, but after the season.
What kind of move?
They're talking about Frank Kona. They're talking about a couple of different older, more seasoned or more how do you put it, more veteran managers.
More experienced,
exactly. They're looking. Lynn Henning has come out and said that the Tigers are. Frank Kona is the name that's been shot out there. Green's the name that's been shot out there. Again, if you read the tea leaves, I haven't heard anybody defend him. I haven't heard anybody out of the Tigers organization defend him. It's a shame that they're not making a move right now. If it were me, I would I would probably make a move right away. I mean, I would have made a move 2 months ago, but that's me.
Hey, I agree with that. See, here's the problem with those older, more experienced managers. Do they know any? Do you know any math or saber? Do they know any math or sabermetrics or fundamentals? They would know some fundamentals. They still got some left in them, but I think the Tigers should.
You know what? I'm not. I'll tell you what. Again, you keep bringing up this sabermetrics thing. Who won the World Series the last 3 years in a row? Give me the last 3 winners of the World Series.
The Giants, the Red Sox, and then the Giants.
Okay. And who are their managers?
Bruce Bochy was the Giants manager, and John Farrell was the manager in 2013, as far as I can tell.
Okay, are those sabermetric guys?
I think Bruce Bochy could be more experienced, and he could know sabermetrics.
Not a sabermetric guy. Bruce Bochy is not a sabermetric guy. No matter what way you slice it, Bruce Bochy is no sabermetric guy.
Okay.
The sabermetrics thing, I get it. And even the guy that you like, what's that cat's name that you like, the one that you were saying that you wanted to be manager? Even his name has been mentioned a little bit.
Manny Acta.
Even his name was put out there.
About time Lynn Henning touched on that.
But again, these guys, your roster, for all intents and purposes, your nucleus is set, right? I mean, there's no way we're getting out from under the Verlander contract.
Right.
Verlander contract is what it is.
Yeah, and he's getting better, too. He had another great outing last Sunday, only gave up 2 runs and still took the loss against the Boston Red Sox. Right,
because Austin and his bullpen blew it up, right? So they blew it up perfectly good. You've got. It's
a 50-50 split of blame to Brad Ausmus and the bullpen. They're both of those sides are just terrible.
Right. So you've got Justin Verlander, you've got Miguel Cabrera, you have J.D. Martinez, you have Victor Martinez, you have Iglesias at shortstop. You have talent. This team is not. McCann is coming on. I tell you what, I'm kind of impressed with the way McCann's playing at the moment.
Me too.
So there's a nucleus as far as that goes. As far as the entire baseball club is concerned, there is a nucleus. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what they decide to do, and we're already hearing whispers. Supposedly, it's come out that Illich isn't ready to close up the wallet. He may spend money still.
Right.
So until we see that situation, so I don't necessarily think that this is where we're trying to find bargains. We're not all of a sudden going to flip the script and become the Kansas City Royals. We're not. I think we're closer to the Jays than we are to the Kansas City Royals. The Jays, if you look at the Jays team right now, you want to talk about a dark horse for the world to win the World Series. I think the Jays are in a position to go ahead and do such a thing. Because as it was pointed out by Grant Stoy, you don't generally see a collection of talent like the Jays have assembled after the break now. You don't generally see a collection of talented baseball team like you're seeing in the Jays very often. And it doesn't take a whole lot of sabermetrics to figure out that all these guys can play. So again, I don't think the sabermetrics part of it is really where Illich finds himself as an owner. He doesn't have time for us to go out and find values and then nurture them, pour a little water on them, give them sunlight, and wait for them to become Major League ball players. He's 86 years old. He wanted to win the World Series yesterday. So, again, for me, the sabermetrics thing, I think, is the least of our worries. What we truly need, and we found, and it was pointed out, people can say whatever they want to say about the skipper, okay? About the manager before Austin.
Leland.
Right. People can say whatever they want to say about Leland, but Leland had more success with the Detroit Tigers, being an old school manager and the collection of talent that he had, than Austin has had with the collection of talent that he's had. Again, Austin was supposed to be the X's and O's guy. He was supposed to be the smart guy. And it didn't work out. It hasn't worked out.
Yeah, because they didn't win a World Series at all under Dombrowski's tenure. Not even with Jim Leland.
No, they didn't win a World Series, but at least they got there. Again,
Two times.
As fans, we were used to Cy Young Award winners, Triple Crown winners, late playoff runs. What have we gotten out of Austin? We've gotten one and done in the playoffs, and now we're looking way up the Kansas City Royals. That's what we've gotten.
Yeah.
So, again, it's time. If Illich is serious and he wants to win, he's got to have to continue with the win now mentality. How long that goes? Because I'll tell you what, the reality of this is when Illich passes away, his kids are going to get a hold of the franchise, and a lot like what we saw in New York when Steinbrenner passed away. The kids aren't as willing in New York to spend like the old man did. You know what I mean? Because, again, think of the perspective on where it comes from with Illich and the Tigers. He can't take his money with him. He has invested a lot of money over the last 10 years. We're not even just talking the 5 of success that they've had, but over the last 10 years, he's invested a lot of money without a payoff. So, if it's true what's being said, and that Illich isn't willing to give up and close up the wallet and become a frugal owner now, and he's seriously going to continue to spend to try and win this World Series, by putting in that sabermetrics guy isn't going to give him immediate results. He needs a guy that has a strong hand to the wheel, that can handle the rudder and guide this team to the promised land. And a sabermetrics guy isn't a guy for the job, in my opinion. And that's just my opinion. I may be wrong. I may be not know what I'm talking about, but that's just the way I see it.
Well, if you're talking about experience, that if you want more experience as a manager, you have to have the mental aspects to succeed, and then even if you don't win the World Series, at least you have a deeper playoff run to lead a team with so much talent in the Detroit Tigers, like Jim Leyland did from 2006 to 2013. And like we mentioned, the Tigers got to the World Series twice and didn't win the World Series in either trips. But they won 3 American League Central Division titles with Leland, 3 trips to the American League, 4 trips to the American League Championship Series, and 2 World Series appearances.
Yeah.
But if you add enough mental perspective of it, and maybe I'm going a little too far on the sabermetrics stuff, but if you have enough mentality on every aspect of the game of baseball, the fundamentals, the math, this and that, etc., and even the sabermetrics too, if you want to, if you have that's that's a bonus. Then and only then can you win more World Series rings with the Detroit Tigers, who have much more talent that only the experienced managers, the experienced and more mental managers combined can manage. And the legacy, and then the legacy will continue on and so forth. So, and I'm getting a message from you that Mike Payton just messaged you. And
right. Yeah, we could probably keep that private.
Okay. Yep. All right. So, anyway, to the fans out there, if any, to the fans out there, who do you want as manager out of these three names that Lynn Henning touched on, including Terry Francona and the names we touched on, Bruce Bochy and Manny Acta, and even Gabe Kapler. He's not experienced, but he does have the mental aspects for it too. I forgot to mention him. I almost forgot to mention him.
Yeah, Gabe Kapler. I wouldn't mind seeing him as a Detroit Tigers manager.
Right. Because he has the mental aspects of the game. That's what matters more. That adds to the experience. That helps managers soon. That helps soon to be managers get more experience.
Yeah.
So, just 1 second here. We are only 38 minutes and a half into episode 162. Why don't we go ahead and touch on Michigan athletics before we wrap this up?
Okay.
Earlier this morning, I found out that all Michigan athletics Facebook pages were hacked. That includes the football and men's basketball, and even men's hockey and softball, and et cetera. And they were flooded with all kinds of links to a bunch of inappropriate sexual articles and whatnot. But then they cleaned it up and they wrote and posted this statement, and I quote, "Fans, early this morning, Facebook accounts for Michigan athletics, football and men's basketball were compromised. Thanks to diligent work on behalf of our partners, at the University of Michigan and at Facebook, we have resolved the situation and deleted any offensive posts. We apologize for any inconvenience and appreciate the support of our audiences throughout this issue. We greatly value our connections. Through social media. We continue to monitor our pages and will work with our partners to expedite all inquiries. Thanks for your patience and hashtag Go Blue. And now minutes ago, Michigan Athletics pages have posted, our partners at Facebook have advised us that our social pages are now stable. Out of extreme caution, we will monitor all of our platforms throughout the evening and hope to return to normal operations shortly. We suggest a computer scan for anyone who has clicked on any third-party link from our Michigan Athletics, football or men's basketball pages between the hours of 3 a.m. and 4 p.m. today. We have no indication that any of our other Michigan accounts across all social platforms have been compromised. Thanks once again for your continued support and patience. We can never say it enough. Hashtag Go Blue. So.
Yeah, it's probably some kid in the computer department at Ohio State. Or it could be the Chinese. Huh.
It's a wild guess. It's a tough mystery to solve.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, if the White House can't keep their email secure, I guess it's just the world we live in today.
Mm-hmm.
People get hacked every day.
Yeah, things happen. But Michigan is getting ready to start their football season in the month of September. We're going to touch on that later this month on the Detroit Sports Truth, as well as Michigan State as well. And how they will match up against Ohio State and whatnot. So, about 43 minutes in, and that's all the content we have to share for you on the Detroit Sports Truth.
Awesome.
So, Carlos, I thank you very much for co-hosting with me on episode 162.
You're welcome, buddy.
I'll talk to you in messages on Facebook. And that concludes episode 162 of the Detroit Sports Truth. I'm Taylor Phillips. You can follow me on Twitter at DT2Phillips and add me as a friend on Facebook as Taylor Phillips. Also, like our Detroit Sports Truth Facebook page and Taylor Phillips' Detroit Sports page. And go to Taylor's Detroit Sports blog and go to taylorsdetroitsports.com for my blogs. And join my group, Taylor Phillips' Detroit Sports Group, as well. Until episode 163, TTFN, ta-ta for now.
Bon appetit.